I thought we had a real productive second scrimmage. It was not as hot. It was a little bit overcast. It wasn't near as hot as last week. We were able to complete the scrimmage and get everything we needed to do. We had around 120 or 130 snaps in both our ones and twos, and right at 50 or 50 plus. And then the threes, we got another 20 or 30 of those snaps. So the offense did a little better job this time, had more explosive plays, some good opening drive. Defensively, we struggled to tackle, and I thought we actually tackled better the last scrimmage than we tackled this scrimmage, which is not usually the way it goes. The more you tackle, you get good at it, and we struggled a little bit with that today. So I think it's something we can really work on, hone in on, and all in all, pleased with the scrimmage, but we've got some communication things we got to work on, getting plays in on time on both sides of the ball, special teams. That stuff wasn't probably as clean as the last scrimmage. So we got to figure those things out. But I was excited with the way the guys competed. Today kind of ends what I consider to be our camp. We've gone in spiders more this camp than we ever have before, some by NCAA rules and some by choice. But I'm pleased with where our guys are. I'm pleased with the attitude they've had. And we're going to take day off tomorrow and some of Monday and get back to work Tuesday.
All right, let's get some questions. Let's go to Jake Rowe, and then we'll go to Anthony Dasher.
Kirby, how would you say that things are shaking out at the star position with, injury wise? I mean, I know Tyke's, banged up there. Who's working there besides Latavius?
Brittany's working there. We've got linebackers working there. We've got a couple other DBs working there. So I feel really good about the play of Brittany from the bowl game. Brittany's played that his whole entire career since he's been here. Poole's played a lot of that, and we've got several guys working there.
Hey, Coach, this may be a better question. I don't know until after the first game, but with the two scrimmages in the book, how much of what the team's offensive identity will be are you able to gauge right now?
Yeah, I think it's some of that's dictated by who the defense is, right? Like we want to dictate to the defense what we do, but at the same time, some of what they do matters. If they, every defense we play will be different. There'll be 3 down fronts, 4 down fronts. There'll be big, small, experience in this level, experience on that level. We want to take advantage of what they give us. So I don't know that we can identify what we want to work on, but we're just trying to figure out who the best football players are, not the guy that knows the signal the best and can go execute. We're trying to figure out who the best football players are, and that's been our intent in two scrimmages, is not to go out and trick the defense. We're going out to play fundamental football, and now it'll become a little more scheme, because we got to figure out exactly what each guy can do and what he does well and who we want to become.
Okay, let's go to Chip Towers and then to Mark Weiser.
Yeah, Kirby, I wanted to ask you specifically about Lewis Seen. He just seems like a really interesting guy. He's personable guy. When we watch him, we also see him knock other guys out and knock himself out sometimes playing safety. You're an old safety. Can you give us a little background on finding Lewis in Texas? And he seems like he's been a pretty solid part of that secondary since he showed up.
Yeah, Lewis is a special talent. He has extremely good speed. He has extremely good toughness. He's got good ball skills. He's got size. I mean, when you design a safety, I mean, he's got all the qualities when it comes to it. And he's really been a student of the game. He came in as a raw talent that had played, up in Boston in his high school, and then moved to Texas and bounced around. And, he never really learned a scheme where he learned how to play the position. And he's really grown at that. He's playing multiple positions now for us, free, strong, and playing the money position. So he's been able to do a lot of different things athletically, and he's tough and he's fast. And he is an interesting kid because his motivation is his daughter, his family, his father, his mom, and he spent a lot of time outside of football working on his career. He's been very adamant to me that his career after football and making sure that he's good and making smart investments when he does make money, that's more important to him than anything. And he's done a lot of internships to kind of better himself.
Appreciate that.
Kirby, can you update us on John Fitzpatrick, Reed Gilbert, Don Blaylock in terms of how they're doing? And then piggybacking off that, how do you feel about your team 2 weeks away from the opener in terms of players that could be available for a tough matchup?
Yeah, we're hopeful to get all those guys back soon. So that's the plan, really, on all the guys that are injured. I mean, we don't have a injury that those guys out for a long amount of time. We're hopeful to get all those guys back. I mean, every one of them is day to day, and some of the ones you mentioned can practice now and are practicing. So each one's a different situation, but I expect to be full tilt when Clemson comes time to play them, because I mean, we had more guys healthy today than we did the last scrimmage, and we're in good position there.
Okay, let's go to Dean Legge and then Seth Emerson.
Kirby, at the offensive line, where are y'all with that? And at what stage do you need to start settling into the 5 that you're going to go with?
We've really settled into the 5 that are repping with the ones. We just rotate to get depth and rotate guys around. There's still good competition going on at tackle. It's good competition going on at center when Warren's been healthy to practice since his return from the injury. So he's been able to practice some and do some things. And then Schaefer and Tate have been primary at guard, but we've shuffled some guys around at guard to get different guys in there. So, I mean, I feel good about our depth at our offensive line. And, we still got time to determine who the starting 5 will be in terms of the tackles. But it's not like we're out there doing musical chairs. I mean, they play 20 plays one way, and then they might play another 20 another way just to get the best guys on the field.
Kirby, I guess as we go around the field, at cornerback, I guess Darian was back today. How are things looking there? Competition with Amir and how's Keeley coming along, and anybody else coming along in that competition? Yeah,
Jalen Kimber, Kamari Lassiter have done a really good job. Nylan and LC continue to work. They're working with the corner position. DK, Keeley, and Amir Speed, and Jalen Kimber bring us the most experience, those 4 guys. Kamari is obviously the youngest, but he's worked all over the place. The guy's played almost every position on the field, and he's a bright young player that has good instincts, and we got to find a home spot for him to get him more reps and ready to play. But all those guys have done a great job.
All right, let's go David Pascal and then Jeff Schultz.
Kirby, I know I'm asking you a question that can change in 15 minutes, but when you think about a couple of weeks from now, hotels, meals, bus rides to the stadium, how similar do you envision this experience in Charlotte to be compared to Arkansas, given, pandemic's still around? Or do you think it'll be closer to more normalcy, like going to Nashville a couple of years ago to open a season?
We're pretty secluded. We don't get around a lot of fans. We're not around a lot of fans. Our travel is just us. That's not going to change. Our hotel is just us. We're partitioned off from the crowds and the people. So there's not a lot. The biggest difference is the vaccination, obviously, and that doesn't make you foolproof, and we would never do that anyway. So the same precautions that have been taken will still be taken. The biggest precaution is the vaccination. And we've got a large number of our guys vaccinated, and we want to protect against that. But I think there's maybe a misnomer out there that it wasn't a lot that different last year because we were secluded, but we're always secluded. So that's going to be the case when we travel, and that's going to be the case when we're at the hotels.
Kirby, because I cover different sports, I have the advantages of seeing how different teams and different sports deal with protocols during the pandemic. All 3 pro sports teams and 3 out of 4 FBS teams in the state are allowing in-person interviews right now, Georgia being the exception. I'm just curious, is there some reason other than health concerns that the media has been shielded from in-person interviews for months other than the one day at SEC Media Days? Because all these other teams are in the same state dealing with the same circumstances right now.
Yeah, the first thing I'd say to that, Jeff, is I defer to the medical staff here. And Ron Corson and his staff met on that, talked about that. They come back and visit with us and give us input. And I follow the input that they give us, and usually a safety measure. I will say, different than just COVID and just those issues, because those are the primary issues. We also have major space issues. I don't know how many people know we're dealing with construction, and we're actually limited to 1 field right now. And it scares me to death every day that we have practice right now with guys on our sideline, guys in the way, because we've lost a practice field. So, we have 1 practice field. But when you throw that combined with COVID, it's a real situation for us. And I know you can say, well, other people are handling it different ways. I defer to Ron and his staff, and it's something that we evaluate each week. It's not permanent. Right now for us, it's the decision we feel like is best for us.
All right, let's go to Allison, and then we'll go to Connor Riley.
Hey, Coach, following up on the vaccination, last time we talked, you said you're at 85%. I was just curious, what's your percentage now? And seeing that the Falcons are at 100%, and they were the first NFL team to be 100% vax, do you think that might help motivate your players to?
You went in and out some there, Allison. We've been over 90 for quite a while. So we've been over 90%. For some time now, not 85, but I don't actually know the exact number right now because our percentages change based on who's on our team. And we've had an influx of kids when school started that were walk-ons that came back and joined us. So I'd be inaccurate to say if I knew exactly what the percentage was. I saw the 100% by the Falcons, and a lot of credit to them. And ultimately that's our goal. But we're not there yet.
Hey, Kirby, I wanted to ask you about the progress that Marcus Rosemy-Jacksain has made, both in terms of recovering from injury and where he might be ahead of that Clemson game, along with, Arian Smith and Justin Robinson, your other 2020 wide receiver signees.
Yeah, each one of those guys has had a, competitive, tough physical camp. Each one has a different skill set. So Marcus Rosemy-Jacksain is a tough contested catch guy. He works so hard day in and day out and gives you everything he's got. He's a really good special teams player. Justin has taken on a little bit more ownership in terms of, I'm going to be able to help this team and have a role in this team, whether it's special teams, as a wide receiver and doing other things. And he's getting better. And then Arian, coming from track, he missed some of the summer workouts and he had to shut him down and not do everything. He's bounced back. He's been battling a couple injuries here the last couple of weeks. He's had some toe injuries, a toenail that got stepped on. It was just bad, really bad. But he's missed a little time. But they all three have a different skill set, and all three are competitors, and they continue to grow, and they're in that receiver rotation.
All right, let's go see if Emily has a question, and then Mike Griffith. Okay, let's go to Mike Griffith.
Coach, I want to ask you, I know it's every fall is a different challenge. How do you know when enough is enough? And as far as pushing guys, I know all these practices are scripted, but when you know to let off the pedal or when to go to the pool or go to the movies or when to push, how do you gauge that?
I think you'd be intelligent with your team. Some of that's based on heat. Some of that's based on how many practices you have inside or out. We've actually had a few more inside this year. We've been dealing with rain, but we have a set schedule and routine that we follow, and that doesn't change much year to year. The NCAA dictates that to us sometimes when they change the parameters of how many padded practice you can have, how you can practice, how much you can tackle. But to be honest, we haven't had to change ours much. Our model that I've always followed since being here is such that you work hard through camp. You take a couple days off after camp. That gives the coaches a chance to regroup, recenter. The players get to recover. And then you come back and you start getting ready for your opponents. And that's what we've always followed. So we don't vary from that protocol based on very much weather, injuries. I mean, we got the guys we got and we go play with them. Injuries are part of our game.
Okay, let's go to Vance Levy, and then we'll go to Roddy Nabulsi.
Kirby, you might have answered some of this question a couple questions back, but who were Jermaine and Kyrus, were they able to participate in the scrimmage today? And if not, who was running in the ones? And at what point do you get concerned about the quality reps that JT's getting with so many people out? And finally, any explosive plays from the running backs today?
Yeah, Jermaine, Kyrus both went today and practiced. I think we were pretty much full load there at wide receiver. And those guys all got to practice and compete and get better. It was good to have Jermaine out there because he had missed some time in our camp, but he'd missed some time in spring practice as well. Explosive plays by the backs. I'm trying to remember. We may have had a couple checkdowns where they broke tackles and busted loose. A couple runs, 15 or 20 yards, where they did a good job. And then the last part of your question was? Oh, JT getting rhythm. I mean, JT's had, for the most part, he's had pretty good rhythm with the guys. I mean, you can make excuses all the time, but people are injured in football. So you go play with the guys that are out there. They got to throw all summer, so all the guys were out there all summer, and we've had a few guys in and out during camp, but I don't know any team in college football that doesn't, in terms of some guys in, some guys out based on pulls, ankles, being banged up.
All right, let's go to Palmer and then back to I want to check on the red and black. If we have a red and black, we'll take a question there. But go ahead, Palmer.
Yeah, Kirby, what kind of development have you seen from Brock Bowers already in camp, and what kind of expectations do you have for him and the opportunities that might be ahead of him if Darnell is banged up?
Brock's been a good player since he got here. He came in the spring. He was probably swimming some in the spring. He's accelerated his learning. He's competitive. He works his tail off every day. He's a joy to be around. He's what you want in a football player. So we've got to find a way to use his skill set. And he has no expectations from me. My expectations for him are to go out and lay it on the line and compete every day. And he does that. So I think Brock's going to be a really good football player. We're certainly happy to have him and his family as part of our family. Excited to see what he can do.
We have a red and black.
Yes. Hi. So obviously, Kirby, classes are returning to in person, and other than really encouraging your players to get vaccinated, is there any other protocols in place to maybe protect players from contact outside of the team?
Yeah, with classes going back to full measure, our campus is as crowded as it ever has been. There's more people on our campus than there ever have been. So the efficiency for our players in terms of getting to class, being on buses, interacting with a student population that may not be same vaccination rate that our team is, it's a concern. It worries me because our guys are exposed to that. So we're trying to do everything we can to not expose them to any greater risk and allowing them to go to class, because they have to go to class. We can't put every kid on our team in online classes and do those things. So we're trying to minimize those risks as much as we can and educate our players and try to stay healthy when it comes to COVID.
Okay, let's go to Jake and then Blaine. Jake, you there? Okay, Blaine.
Yeah, Kirby, I just wanted to ask you, I don't know if anybody had the opportunity to ask you about your experiences with Bobby Bowden since his passing. I wanted to see what kind of influence he had on your life as a man and a coach. And then also in the spring, to follow up after that, I know like Dan Jackson and David Daniel got a lot of reps because of some injuries and other circumstances. Has either one of those guys kind of made progress here into fall camp?
First, I'll answer the Bobby Bowden question. Yeah, he was a major impact on my life. I was at a relatively young age. I'd been a unique position. I'd been a secondary coach at Valdosta State and a defensive coordinator at Valdosta State, where I actually called the defenses at a young age. And don't know that I was ready to do that, but I also don't know that you're ever ready. You got to go do it. And when I got the call from Coach Bowden to come to Florida State, he, Mickey Andrews, and Joe Kynes all kind of recruited me to come because I'd played for Joe Kynes here at Georgia. And Coach Bowden was just unbelievable. I mean, the man, the person, everything you hear about him, it doesn't live up to justice for the way he treated people. There was never a moment that you were with him that you didn't feel special. There was never a moment that you didn't feel like you could go talk to him. He did so much for me. He actually had coached at one time at Sanford College, where my parents went to school. And he was as good as there is. His family and all his kids really embraced the Tallahassee community and took me in as a graduate assistant and helped me start my career. So I got to see him from time to time, even after I left. So I'm at a couple bowl games we played at and national championship games. And he was always just such a good person. So I appreciate it and thoughts are with his family, during this time. And then Dan Jackson and David Daniel. David Daniel actually wasn't with us. They had a funeral he had to attend, so he was not there. But he's had a fall camp where he's growing. He got spring in to get a lot of reps, like you mentioned. But he's still growing to help our team because we don't have much depth at the defensive back position. And he's a guy that could have to be thrust into playing time because we had that happen last year. in the Florida game when Lewis got the targeting, we had to stick a safety in there that had not played much, and David could easily be that guy. But Dan Jackson has done a real good job. He's one of the toughest, hardest working young men. I think everybody on the team respects Dan Jackson because of the way he works, and he's going to be able to help our team this year.
Okay, we got time for one more question. Now let's go to Roddy. I think I jumped in front of him there. Go ahead, Roddy.
No problem. Kirby, if you would, I need two things. Can you give me a play-by-play of how your thoughts went through your mind when you went off the high dive at the Ramsey Center? And then second, if you could kind of tell us about what you've seen from two of your more highly touted offensive line signees, and Amarius Mims and Broderick Jones over the fall camp.
Yeah, both those guys are talented players, everything they're advertised to be. I think, unfortunately, so many people think so much of guys and they get rated by you guys and so many people to be so high. It's hard to live up to that expectation, but they're talented. They're very talented. They work hard. They're both great young men. They're having good camps. You know, Amarius has missed some time, so it's been a tougher progress for him, where Broderick has been healthy. He's been competitive. He's played left and right tackle, and he's gotten better. And Amarius is getting better, but he hasn't been. He's had some lower back issue spasms. He's had to sit out of some practice time, but not necessarily a whole practice. So he hasn't got the reps. You just need reps, and you need lots of reps. And he's going to grow into being a really talented player. I'm excited about both of them in terms of where they're going. And they're in the conversation right now at tackle, at both tackles. And then back to the high dive, I had no intentions, but at the point when I got called out, I got a little peer pressure, and there wasn't a lot of options once you got up there, and a lot of regret. I can promise you that. I will always land on my feet and not anything else, because I was sore for about 3 days on my fanny. I will not be doing that again.
All right, with that, we'll close out. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Coach Smart.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great day.